What advice would you give him for prolonging his career?
I don't need to give him advice. He's Superman.
What do you think of his game, just overall?
Like Superman. Pretty spectacular.
It's just that he's off to an incredible start in his career, and I assume making the Panthers very happy that they drafted him #1.
Cam's a hard-working kid. He really is.
Cam Newton, one could argue, is doing more with less. He's big, he's strong, he's athletic, he's clearly the star of the team. He talks smack, he backs it up, and he instills the kind of attitude that speaks of championship aspirations.
Go! Attaboy. That was nice. Woo! Can't teach that.
He's made Tegan Jr. a really viable receiver. I call him 50-50 because there's a 50% chance he catches it, there's a 50% chance he drops it.
Are you surprised that Cam threw for nearly 400 yards?
No, I'm not surprised.
He has great work ethic, and it's just a matter of time before he's setting the world on fire at the next level.
6'5", 245 pounds, and faster than half the league. Cam Newton wasn't built to fit the system, he was built to become the prototype. When Cam entered the league in 2011, the league had never seen anything like him. Drafted first overall by the Carolina Panthers, Newton was given the keys to a franchise coming off a 2-14 season. Expectations were low, but Cam made history instead. In his first 2 career games, he threw for over 400 yards in each one, something no rookie had ever done. By the end of the season, he had 4,051 passing yards, 706 rushing yards, 21 passing touchdowns, and he also rushed for 14 touchdowns, breaking records that still stand today. And a quick break for today's sponsor. I gotta put you guys on the Underdog Fantasy. Normally you play $5 for $50 in bonus funds, but for this promo, you only have to play $5 for $100 in bonus funds. All you gotta do is sign up with my code SPORTSCODE or use the link in the description, and Underdog will hook you up with this special offer. Must be 18 or older to play. Please play responsibly. Now back to the video. Players around the league couldn't believe what they were watching. Ray Lewis called him a nightmare to prepare for. Tom Brady said, when you see Cam, you see someone changing what a quarterback even is. Even veteran coaches admitted that they never game plan for someone with that mix of size, speed, and arm strength. In a league built for pocket passers, Cam Newton was proof that power and speed could live in the same body. And if you enjoy stories that dive into legends of the NFL, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. By 2015, Cam Newton had taken full control of the NFL spotlight. No superstar wideouts, no deep roster of weapons, but they had #1, and that was enough. He threw for 3,837 yards, 35 passing touchdowns with another 10 touchdowns on the ground. This led Carolina to a 15-1 record. The Panthers averaged nearly 32 points a game, and Newton accounted for more than 80% of those points himself. Defenses couldn't find an answer. Blitz him and he'd slip out the pocket. Spy him and he'd throw over the top. Stack the box and he would hit Greg Olsen down the seam. His balanced play forced every coordinator to rethink what containment meant. Teammates said his confidence was contagious. Other teams called it arrogance until they faced him. Von Miller also admitted that tackling Newton was like trying to bring down a tight end who could throw the ball 40 yards on a rope. Bill Belichick praised his discipline, calling his football IQ underrated and dangerous. Then the Superman celebration became a national symbol. And I know y'all remember when kids everywhere started dabbing after touchdowns, copying his celebrations in playgrounds and in school. The move became a phenomenon, showing up in NBA arenas, music videos, and much more. For a whole season, Cam Newton was the face of football. And it wasn't just for his stats, but for his personality he brought to the game. He made Sundays feel fun, and in doing so, became one of the few players whose impact reached more than one sport and culture at the same time. And when the season ended, there was no debate. Newton was named NFL MVP and led the Panthers to Super Bowl 50. And for a moment, it felt like the league belonged entirely to him. The prototype had reached his peak form, but the way the season ended started to overshadow his impact and legacy. And what I'm referring to is Cam shying away from jumping on that fumble. Cam Newton's 2015 season wasn't just dominant on paper, it was filled with moments that defined why he ran away with the MVP award. One of the first came in Week 3 against the New Orleans Saints. Newton threw for 315 yards and 2 touchdowns while also rushing for another 33 yards and a touchdown. The Panthers won 27-22, and it was clear that this offense completely revolved around him. In Week 11 against Washington, he delivered one of the greatest single-game performances of his career. 5 touchdown passes, no interceptions, and 123 passer rating. They won 44-16, and that was the moment national media stopped asking if he could win MVP and started asking when he could win MVP. Then came week 13 against the Saints, another shootout that showcased every part of his game. Newton threw 5 touchdowns, totaled 331 yards, and led a 41-38 win that pushed Carolina to 12-0. And in week 15 against the Giants, Carolina's undefeated season was on the line. Cam Newton delivered one of his signature performances and threw 5 touchdown passes, piled up 340 yards through the air, rushed for another 100 yards on only 8 carries, and he became the first quarterback in NFL history to combine 300+ passing yards, 100+ rushing yards, and 5 passing touchdowns in a single game. This will mark his third 5 passing touchdown performance of the year. After the Panthers blew a 35-7 lead and the Giants tied it late, Newton just took over. With the game on the line, he led a clutch 49-yard drive in the final minutes, setting up Graham Gano's game-winning 43-yard field goal to seal a 38-35 victory and to keep Carolina perfect at 14-0. By the end of that stretch, Newton had 41 total touchdowns, and defenses looked exhausted trying to stop him. Those weeks turned his MVP campaign from impressive to inevitable. Cam Newton earned his respect the hard way. He forced the entire league to adjust to him. Other teams stopped treating him like a normal quarterback, and legends around the game started recognizing how rare he was. Belichick said he was a major problem to prepare for. Aaron Rodgers described him as a nightmare in the open field, saying his size and burst changed how defenses had to rush the passer. Ray Lewis talked about him as the kind of player who makes you question your angles. And Tom Brady definitely respected Cam Newton. He told reporters after a Patriots-Panthers matchup that Cam was an incredible competitor and a leader who changes the energy in the stadium. Even his teammates shared those same thoughts. Greg Olsen called him the most competitive player that he'd ever seen. Kuechly said that Newton's confidence wasn't fake, it was earned. That leadership pulled Carolina through moments where talent alone wasn't enough. And years later, players like Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, and Josh Allen would all credit Newton as an influence. The original blueprint for quarterbacks who could dominate with both their arm and legs. The league may have evolved, but it definitely evolved in his direction. Years after his MVP run, the NFL was still chasing the Cam Newton blueprint. No player proved that more than Anthony Richardson. Despite an inconsistent college career at Florida, just 13 career starts and under 55 completion percentage, Richardson became a top 5 pick in the 2023 NFL draft almost entirely because of what Cam Newton represented. The build, the arm, the power, the potential, it all mirrored what teams saw in Newton back in 2011. Richardson didn't have the resume, but I guess he had the traits, and that's what scouts were looking at. They really wanted to call him Cam 2.0. That alone was enough to convince a franchise to take that high risk. At 6'4", 238 pounds with 10% body fat, Richardson ran a 4.4 40-yard dash and could launch the ball. Scouts called him a linebacker with quarterback mechanics. He was raw and inaccurate and inexperienced, but his physical traits were too rare to ignore. The comparisons to Cam were automatic, the same burst and the same belief that strength and athleticism could outweigh polish. Even a decade later, the league was still trying to find another version of the prototype. By the time Cam Newton's prime started to fade, his influence was already permanent. Shoulder surgeries, foot injuries, and years of physical punishment took a toll, but what he left behind changed the game forever. Before Cam, dual-threat quarterbacks were seen as risky, athletic but inconsistent, too physical to last, and after him, they started to become the standard. Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels, and even Kyler Murray, they all grew up watching Cam, and even quarterbacks you wouldn't consider dual threats have started to run more. The players I'm referring to could be Pat Mahomes, CJ Stroud, Baker Mayfield, and even Justin Herbert. Even beyond football, his style reshaped how athletes carried themselves. The pregame fits, the celebrations, the unapologetic personality, that came from Cam Newton. He just wanted to be himself, and I'm sure a lot of people wanted to do the same. Newton finished his career with an MVP, 3 Pro Bowl selections, a Super Bowl appearance, and 75 rushing touchdowns, the most ever by a quarterback. But stats only tell part of the story. His real impact lives on in every QB who strives to be themselves. Cam Newton was the prototype, not because of his numbers, but because of what he made possible for everyone who came after. Do you think we'll ever see another player like Cam Newton? Drop your thoughts below and subscribe for more NFL stories. Thanks for watching.